Welcome to Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Hey, we tried a new feature today. We think it's working. We're streaming both to YouTube and Twitter. So, hey, if you like Twitter better than YouTube or whatever, you can go to either one of them and you can watch our stream from there. So, hey, we're streaming in two different locations. If this works and we like it, we can go up to as many as 5, which would be Facebook, my Dodgers Daily group, Instagram, you name it. We can have as many as we want. But, hey, Austin, welcome in. It's a great day to be a Dodger.
It is a great day to be a Dodger. Happy to be here live on Dodgers Dogs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network. It's been a little bit since I've had the chance to do a live show. I know Monday nights I typically try to do live shows. That's because of my schedule recently. It hasn't been an option for me. Still a lot of going on family side. But with Dodgers baseball, there's a lot of exciting action with Dodgers baseball. A couple of wins against the San Francisco Giants has got to feel good. They're going for the sweep tonight. Up and down this organization, there is a lot to be excited about. And there's also a lot to be excited about here at Dodgers Daily, trying new adventures, going out and streaming not only on YouTube, which is where the audience has known us for streaming before, trying a little bit different, trying it on X, as it is known now, I suppose, Twitter. A lot of exciting stuff here. Dodgers Dogs, part of the Dodgers Daily Network. This is still your show. We want to hear from you, and we want to talk a lot of Dodgers baseball. And there's great things that can be done when you have a community like this, and we really enjoy it.
So right now it's giving me an error occurred on my regular YouTube program, but I do think it's working. So if you have video, then, hey, Craig, I see Craig and Daniel's in the chat there. Will you make sure and leave me a message and tell me if you have video or not? Because it's giving me an error on the actual live program, part of the YouTube, but the restream part of it seems to be working, and so does the Twitter. So we're going to move on like everything is working, and we are hunky-dory. But, hey, tonight, Elieser Hernandez gets the baseball for the Dodgers. We mentioned that because the Dodgers starting pitchers have gone, except for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who went 5 2/3 innings, close enough. Because they've had length in their performances, the Dodgers could either get creative. Yeah, Madre's crying in their beer. Yeah, they could either get creative in the up-down train and create, maybe that 6-starter type situation, a bullpen game, or a piggyback game. So, hey, they decided to call up Elieser Hernandez, and so, yeah, that's what's going to happen tonight. We actually covered him on our show last week, but give us an intro to Elieser Hernandez, and then I will play that video.
Yeah, Elieser Hernandez, one of those guys that was competing a lot. And especially on this Oklahoma City Baseball Club, there is a lot of veteran-type pitchers who could get the call-up at any point during spring training. We saw that with Nabil Crismatt, Dinelson Lamet. We've seen this with a bunch of different guys. It's now Elieser Hernandez's turn, and he has some big league experience, starting big league experience as well. Pitched a lot for Oklahoma City this year and has performed, especially the result side, really well. 2.83 ERA, Oklahoma City, especially in the Pacific Coast League, where that's a very hitter-friendly environment. That's really good. You like that. Also a close to 30% strikeout percentage. That'll play as well. Elieser Hernandez has a lot of talent, and he's going to not necessarily, at least initially, things could change based off of performance, but right now, Dodgers need pitching, and he is a good, solid, really good short-term hole for the Dodgers to be able to patch as they bridge the gap for their starting pitchers. They wanted to save Tyler Glasnow, I believe, for tomorrow, so Elieser Hernandez, one of the guys that was called up, and he's going to go get some innings and get some time to pitch against the San Francisco Giants.
So we covered him after our last video, after his last outing, I believe was last Thursday, maybe last Wednesday. We covered him. I think it was our Friday show, and this was our coverage right here.
Right, he straightens up and deals the first. And Hensley goes after it, pops it up, foul ground, first base.
Well, that's actually the wrong video. Let me get to that here in just a minute. And, yeah, actually, let me get to Twitter, and let me play it from there. And we'll
Oklahoma City. 5 2/3 Elieser Hernandez is a young man who has major league experience, and he has been throwing the ball well for AAA Oklahoma City. 5 2/3 innings, 3 hits.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and talk about Elieser Hernandez anyways. And yes, he is a guy that has a 4-seam, a 2-seam, a cutter. He is a professional. He's going to give you a professional outing. He's a guy that's going to run it up there about 92, 94 miles an hour. He's had a good year for AAA Oklahoma City. He has major league experience. And so this is a guy that you would think would give you at least some length. He's a guy that the Dodgers, we mentioned it in our video if you go to our social medias. This was a guy we figured the Dodgers would trust in a situation like this. So, hey, this isn't a guy that just came out of the blue. This is a guy with major league experience the Dodgers have had their eye on. They love having these quad A guys in their AAA system where they can access them, bring them up in situations like this. And so Elieser Hernandez is going to get the ball tonight.
It's 1 run, 8 strikeouts.
He has pitched with some length to a lot of his starts, and it is 6 games, 5 different starts, 28.2 innings, 28 2/3 innings. So he's going to be able to provide a little bit of length. 29 years old. Don't know what extended future Elieser Hernandez is going to receive.
However, he straightens up and deals the first. And Hinsley goes after.
Not just to showcase for the Dodgers, but for all organizations. So you know he's going to go out there and give it everything he's got. That's exciting. Also gives the Dodgers a fresh arm to work with as they move on from the San Francisco Giants, or as they try to close the book on the San Francisco Giants in this series.
Absolutely. So this is a guy that we thought, if you go back to our clip that we had last week, we thought the Dodgers would bring up sooner rather than later. They absolutely have done that. So I'm interested to see how it goes tonight with Elieser Hernandez and how that start goes. And again, the Dodgers are going for the sweep. So, hey, let's check out. Of course, we've got all the comments right here. We have a great crowd logging in. Daniel Berry Sports Highlight, Craig Osterberg, Roy, good evening to everybody that's logging in. Mike Boyer, thank you for telling me that you do see me on YouTube. Roy Estrada's on YouTube. Gregory as well. Cole, Ghost, Yachty, thank you so much for joining in. So we have a great crowd. And, yeah, the Dodgers just finished the Padres series. They are up 2-0 in the series with San Francisco. It was an explosion last night. So, hey, Goat Yachty, thank you so much for the comment. Dodgers Daily is a top-tier channel. Great comment. Thank you so much. Roy Estrada, who always brings his A game. Roy says, Casey, Austin, we need 2 solid pitchers. If we think Buehler or Kershaw can take one of the 4 starting spots in the playoffs, we are in trouble. Enough with entitlement and rewarding past performance. I agree with everything that he said right there, except for I honestly don't think that we need to go get 2 starters. I think the Dodgers have everything they need, and here's why. I think even in a 4-starter scenario, which I don't see the Dodgers needing more than 4 starters in any round of the playoffs, the way they do it with TV. So you have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, right? Mm-hmm. You have
Glass
now.
Yep.
You have.
I'm assuming that would be the 2 for Roy Estrada would be Glass now and Yamamoto.
Yes, those are the 2 that would throw like in the first round of the playoffs, right? If you only need 2, and then if you need 3, I think that third guy. If you bring in, here's the problem: if you bring in 2 new starters right now, then you're going to limit the exposure that Bobby Miller is going to have. You're going to limit James Paxton's innings to see if maybe he could help you in the bullpen. And then you're also going to be limiting Walker Buehler. The Dodgers need to see what they have with Walker Buehler. He hit 97 the other day. It takes a minute to get the feels back, to get the which goes into the command. So I think right now, of course, the Dodgers are going to win the division by probably 10 to double digits. Let's say that. I think they're probably favored to do that. I think they have the ability to see if Bobby Miller can get back. They did this exact same thing with Bobby Miller last year. Get him back in the rotation, see what Walker Buehler can do. And then you never know. I mean, James Paxton might turn into a Tyler Anderson, and the next thing you know, you got a 97-mile-an-hour lefty on the bump that's shoving like he did the other day. So I think the Dodgers have the pieces right now that they need to see exactly what they have. And then if they realize, hey, Walker Buehler's just not going to get the command back, Bobby Miller's not going to be as healthy where we can trust him, or James Paxton. We don't, he's always been a strike thrower, but maybe we don't want him to be the starter in the playoffs. At that point, I think you can go out and get a couple of starters, but right now I think you need to use that runway for the guys you already have. That's just my opinion, though.
I think right now, as we are sitting, the Dodgers are in a very good position. They have two guys that they feel, I believe, incredibly comfortable with, especially guys that are healthy right now in Glasnow and Yamamoto, to where they are going to start, assuming that they are healthy, a playoff game. It's about rounding off the back half of the rotation, in which case the Dodgers are in an advantageous position because they have a lot of guys that are going to be coming back healthy. They have a lot of guys with a ton of past really good performance. So they do have a lot of options. Right now, I don't think the Dodgers are in a position to where they need to go out and get a starting pitcher, especially because with starting pitchers, a lot of teams are going to be looking for starting pitchers. The options are very limited. And as far as the guys that are going to be better than a Walker Buehler, a Bobby Miller, a Clayton Kershaw, that's also going to be incredibly pricey, to the point where, especially if you want to focus on some other areas, end of the lineup, you want to work on getting a shortstop, work on fixing up the bullpen, making sure that that is rock solid. The Dodgers are going to have to make choices for those. And I don't think they're going to use every single one of their chips. As much as they are all in for this season, they're not going to trade the entire farm system to win the World Series this year, because they still want to have that continued success. So if you go out and get two starting pitchers, you're very likely going to be relying on guys like a Alex Vesia out of the bullpen coming, and different guys for the postseason, which I don't know how comfortable the Dodgers are. They're going to have lots of time to evaluate guys, especially as guys are coming back, especially as guys are getting healthy. They'll be able to evaluate and address which area of need they have the most when the time comes. But the Dodgers have a lot of different pitchers. Gavin Stone is pitching really well. I'm not saying the Dodgers would give
slap
him
a pop knot on my head for not mentioning Gavin Stone. I mean, come on.
Oh, and he's pitching phenomenal right now. Now, given the Dodgers and their past reluctance to go to a lot of the rookie starters, perhaps they're not going to rely on him in the postseason. But if he keeps performing like this, maybe they do. They have.
I'm with
guys
Roy
like
on
him.
That one. Reward who's actually pitching now, not past performance. No entitlement to it. Whoever your best pitchers are, that's who pitches.
Absolutely,
I'm 1,000% with Roy on that.
And I think that is absolutely right. And we saw that bite the Dodgers in the butt last postseason when Ryan Pepio didn't get the ball. So I think with a lot of these guys, you're going to
don't do that to me, man.
I think with these guys, they're going to have, it's going to be a fierce competition. And I think with Roy Estrada, I think the point that he's trying to make, in which case Walker Buehler and Clayton Kershaw kind of getting the ball just because of their past performance, just because of their history with the organization, that is and can cost the Dodgers, especially if they are not pitching well. So it's going to have to be earned. I don't think the Dodgers right now have to go out and get anybody. Could change depending on how things come back, the status of the rotation. I feel really comfortable with two of the guys. I think they are starting to really showcase something and really earn it and be those two ace-type pitchers at the start of the rotation. We'll see about the rest of them. And opinions can change over time, and we'll see how the Dodgers are and what the Dodgers' biggest area of need is as we get closer.
Our moderator is in the house, Gregory. Gregory says smash that like button, and I totally agree with Roy on that entitlement. That part of it, hey, you put all this money into it, put the best guys out there, not just the ones that have done it necessarily in the past. Okay. Hey, what a great crowd we have logging in. Goat Yachty says Bobby Miller could be a number 3. And again, man, slap a pop knot on my head for not mentioning Gavin Stone or even Kyle Hurt. And we have a question about Kyle Hurt. What I'm hearing from all my little birdies that fly around, the same ones that told me about Daniel Hudson and how he was going to help this team and all that, I'm hearing that he's going to be back in June. So this time next month. So you're going to have to put him back in there too, as far as the probably the bullpen or whatever it may be. These types of nights tonight would set up well for Kyle Hurt, however you want to incorporate him back in. So that's what I'm hearing there. Hey, William Andrews, good evening to yourself. Thank you so much for joining. Roy Estrada, you could hear a church mouse at Petco for the series against the Rockies. I guess they need Dodgers fans to show them how to support your team. Yeah, the Dodgers, to be honest with you, I'm not going to lie, I really hope the Padres just don't make the playoffs. They have the course. We're not gonna make this a show about the Padres, but
yeah,
they have the star power. They're not scared of the Dodgers. That's a hungry fan base when it comes to playing the Dodgers. I just think that's a situation that would behoove the Dodgers if they just bypassed the Padres all in all.
Yeah, they show up for games against the Dodgers. You have to recognize that, especially during the course of this season, the past series. So good for the Padres. Dodgers got to beat them the next time that they come. Padres still have a lot of talent. This isn't Padres dogs. This is Dodgers dogs. Yeah. But you got to recognize some of the teams that have beaten the Dodgers in the past and try to figure out ways to beat them going forward because they show up for the games against the Dodgers.
Nando 390 says, is Buehler a bullpen piece in October? The Walker Buehler I saw with my own eyes in the last performance in Oklahoma City easily is a starter. He made things look very easy. He located and commanded that night, and he was very impressed. And if you go back to my social media, I was very honest about the performance before that. I didn't think that was it. I even said it on the post that I made. Hey, I'm not exactly sure this is what the club is looking for. And then that night, the last one he was in Oklahoma City, that was the one I said, yeah, they're going to like this one. I think this is the last time he pitched. It was in Oklahoma City, and we happened to be right in that situation just because we got to see it with our own eyes. So, yeah, I think Walker Buehler, you give him leash, and if you get the Walker Buehler that I saw the other night, that and then you add the 96, 97 to that, that's easily a guy that could be at the top of your rotation. So I think that question, I think that's a great idea, Nando, to put in the back of your mind. But I think you have all this runway to use to get Walker Buehler all the fields back to see if he can be a top-end starter, a 2, maybe a 3 in the playoffs. I think he has that kind of potential. You know he's going to be motivated because, number one, he loves the Dodgers. He wants to win a World Series with the Dodgers. He loves putting on that blue uniform. And then B, it's a walk year, so he has all kinds of motivation.
Yeah, they're going to give Walker Buehler the necessary run time to see if he's going to be part of that starter. Walker Buehler is going to have to earn it. That is something, as Roy Estrada had indicated, he's not going to be given to him. And we'll see how Walker Buehler is able to adapt coming off of another surgery, coming back and trying to reestablish himself, gaining a lot of value as he is entering free agency. He has every single incentive to pitch as well as he possibly can. And we know the fight. We know the tenacity that Walker Buehler is going to bring. Dodgers are going to give him opportunities to be that starter. And then if that isn't working out, they'll figure out a way to adapt, as the Dodgers will try to do.
Hey, we have a $19.99 super chat from our wonderful Dodger Daily, Roy Estrada. Roy always brings his A game. He says, thank you for taking the time and spot on with the pitching analysis there. So, hey, Roy, first of all, thank you so much for that super chat. I can't tell you how much that means to Austin and I. We have built this from the ground up, and anytime somebody shows appreciation like that, we can't tell you how much we appreciate that. But even more so than that, Roy, we just appreciate you showing up every time we do these shows, and then just the unbelievably great comments that you leave every single time. I can't tell you how many times Roy will post, and I'm like, wow, yeah, that, and it creates great conversation, right? So Roy always brings...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say it creates great conversation, and it also challenges both Casey and I to think through a lot of our ideas, to think through a lot of different thoughts. And that's what community, that is what having Dodgers Daily is all about. We want to be smart. We want to make the best decisions because we want the Dodgers to win. We want the organization to be good. And as you had stated in your original comment with the pitching analysis, there are things that have gone wrong with the Dodgers in the past, and there are different ways that we think that the Dodgers can improve going forward. And so having this interaction, having you just be able to show up and being able to interact and talk is greatly appreciated. And especially the super chat, can't tell you how much that means and how much you being part of this community has helped both Casey and I'll talk about me specifically, grow as a baseball mind and as a contributor here at Dodgers
100%. Song Jim Kim, thank you so much for your comment. Do the Dodgers see Mookie Betts as a solution in the shortstop position in the long term? As a first full-time shortstop, will Mookie be okay with physical or defensive issues? I've said it many times. I think shortstop's easier physically on his body than any of the outfield positions. I think second base would be the easiest position. I think if you ask Mookie, which I think it's going to come down to that at some point, I think Mookie is going to want to play second base. Keep in mind, I have zero inside information on that. That is strictly me saying something based on what I think, based on how I've read the situation, with no inside information whatsoever. So I think Mookie Betts is the long-term shortstop for this year, but not necessarily if you're going to say 3 years from down the road, because you have Mookie Betts tied up for a big, long contract. Is he going to be the shortstop in the future, say 3 years from now? I would say no to that. I would say if you started the playoffs, if you took a bet right now, what's the over-under on Mookie Betts being the shortstop starting in the playoffs this year? I would say it would be a pretty high odds that he would be. Especially, and it's all going to come down to if Gavin Lux keeps climbing. Gavin Lux, he's been a good defender. If Gavin Lux can just get his on-base percentage up, say to 350, if he's scoring a run in 3/4 of the games, he's using his speed and he gets that batting average up to, say, 250, 260, then there's no doubt that Mookie Betts will be the shortstop.
Yeah, I think right now the plan is, and the necessary future is for Mookie Betts to be the shortstop of the Dodgers. At least for this season, they're going to give him every single opportunity to do so. With the Dodgers, I think the entire evaluation is going to come down to Mookie Betts. He is one of the stars on this Dodgers team, and they need to have Mookie Betts on the field being his best, most productive self. And if that is fine with him at shortstop and they're able to get a Gavin Lux who's able to start hitting a little bit better, which he has been hitting better recently, I think that's going to be best case scenario for the Dodgers. If they do an evaluation where it's taking too much wear and tear on his body at shortstop, they will make a change, because Mookie Betts is that type of player that you go and work around and try to figure out this team to try to fit what fits Mookie Betts best because of his impact that he has in the lineup, on the field, on the base paths. He can do just about everything. So we'll have to see. The Dodgers obviously have a lot closer eyes than we do, and they know the ins and outs that Mookie Betts is going through. And I'm sure Mookie Betts would say, yeah, I can play shortstop because of that competitive fire and spirit that he has. Dodgers are going to have to make an evaluation. If it's taking too much wear and tear on Mookie, they will make a change and they will figure out some sort of way to make sure that Mookie Betts is good, healthy for the long term, because they have too much invested in Mookie Betts going forward.
I would agree with that. And Mookie also strikes me as a guy that you could go to and say, hey, Mookie, what do you think here? Where are you thinking? And I think his input will determine a lot as to what the Dodgers do with that, both this year and in the future. Kind of where I'm coming at it, my angle is, I think if they came to Mookie Betts right now and said, hey, Mookie, where are you at on this? Mookie would say, 1,000%, put me at shortstop, let's go. Yes. Right? Yes. But I think if they said, well, what about being the shortstop for the next 6 years for the Dodgers? I think he'd go, I'm not exactly sold on that one, but for this year, let's go, right? Again, that there's no inside information. That's just from my experience in the game. That's from what I see. And then also, I think Mookie's smart enough him and Gavin Lux are good friends, man. He's seen Gavin Lux's grind. He knows what he's gone through. And just like, a guy like me that's seen Gavin Lux play so many different times and have success, like Mookie Betts has seen Gavin Lux on the backfield do things that he went, oh, wow, watch that we've never seen, right? Yeah. Okay, so I promise you Mookie Betts has faith in Gavin Lux the same way that guys like me that have seen him play a lot do too. So there's another aspect to it too. Mookie Betts is not going to want to do anything that's going to kick Gavin Lux out of at least his opportunity to continue to show what he can do. And again, the Dodgers, they were just brilliant the way they came out and said 150 at-bats for Gavin Lux. It put a bottom line to it. but it put a bottom line that didn't put so much pressure on it to where Gavin Lux couldn't stay process-oriented. So I thought that was just absolutely brilliant how they handled that situation. Yeah, Greg Osterberg says Gavin Stone has changed his philosophy. Not as many strikeouts and trusting his defense with ground balls. Dodgers defense at pitcher has been Gold Glove lately. Craig, what you're seeing, I talked about this when I went on with D-Mac on Dodgers Nation. Alex Friedman hit on it, the AAA play-by-play voice, whenever we did our interview with him over the offseason, and several different times when we talked about Gavin Stone. What you're seeing, Craig, is he moved himself back to, and I say back to, I know if you talk to some people, they go, he's a four-seam changeup guy. No, he wasn't. When he was at Great Lakes, he threw the sinker almost all the time, right? Okay, now he did develop the slider, but he threw that sinker pitch a lot whenever he was at Great Lakes. And then he actually didn't throw a changeup till he got to Great Lakes or somewhere around that time period. And then he got the, and then by the end of that, I think that was a 2021 season where
and then he started in 2022 with Great Lakes for a couple weeks before they're like, you're too good for this level.
They finally figured out at that point his changeup had gotten to the point where it was like his best pitch, right?
Yes.
So at that point, they moved him to basically a high-riding four-seam tumbling changeup pitcher. That's called a north-south pitcher. That's a strikeout setup, right? Okay, so he did that. Then he got to the major leagues and realized, well, I can't throw that changeup enough for strikes. Now I'm just stuck with a 94-mile-an-hour four-seam that's straight, and I can't command that well enough to be perfect enough not to get ambushed and hit with that. Yeah. So then what they did is they brought him back to Oklahoma City. They added back in the two-seam, which gave him that right turn again that we saw him throw all night last night to the Giants. They added a cutter that matches that same shape, so that two-seam is that east movement to the right. That cutter is the exact same plane back to the west. So they made him more of a horizontal east-west pitcher, like he's been a lot in the past. And the horizontal east-west setup is more to miss barrels and throwing to contact versus the tumbling, high-riding stuff, which is swing and miss. So Craig Osterberg, you are 1,000% correct that he has changed those, and that is the exact process as to how he changed and why now he is more of a weak contact guy versus a strikeout guy, because his adjustments in Oklahoma City at the end of last year were to become more east and west. Did I talk too long there?
I think this is a good reminder not to give up on a lot of these younger guys too soon, because I think a lot, especially during the offseason, we saw the early indications for Gavin Stone at the big league level kind of thrust in there, perhaps even before the Dodgers would have liked to, with all of the injuries they had to the pitching side early last season. Comes up, doesn't succeed right away. That happens to a lot of big leaguers, a lot of really, really good big league players and big league pitchers. So I think this is a good reminder to trust the process, to allow these guys, especially with the guys with incredible stuff. The changeup is still phenomenal and a great tool for Gavin Stone. He's found different ways to attack, going back to a way that works so incredibly well for him in the past at the lower levels of the minor leagues. And you're seeing Gavin Stone reap the rewards where he's not relying on a 94-mile-per-hour fastball to throw strikes and hope everybody chases at the changeup. He's able to generate a lot of weak contact and become a good pitcher, learning about and adapting more to, as some would say, the art of pitching. So it's great to see Gavin Stone have all of this success and really grow up as a big league pitcher in front of our eyes and start to establish himself as a Dodgers starting pitcher. This is great for the Dodgers. You want every single one of these young guys to establish themselves as big league starters. That creates a whole lot of options and a whole lot of different possibilities going forward. Gavin Stone is pitching incredibly well, and it's because of those adjustments that he made when things did not go right immediately.
Cole's bringing his A game tonight. Good evening, Cole. Thank you so much for joining Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Austin, I say it every single time, and I think you agree with me. We don't have the biggest crowd, although it's growing. And, man, I can't thank you guys enough for watching these videos. This channel is growing, and it seems like every time that it's like I'm challenging the baseball gods right now here by saying something positive about it. But, hey, I say that only to say it's because of you guys this thing is growing. We enjoy so much talking Dodgers baseball. We're just so glad there's some people out there that want to watch it and do watch it and continue to watch it. So we can't thank you enough for all the support you have given us. Cole, thank you so much for joining Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Cole says the Dodgers have an 8-game division lead, playoff appearance locked up by the All-Star break, and that Walker Buehler just needs to shake off the rust. I would agree with Cole. Roy Estrada says Mookie still needs a lot of work at shortstop. I would totally agree with that. He does get eaten up on certain different balls. Hey, you hear all the time, hey, attack the ball, attack the ball, attack the ball. But then after you hear like real high-level infield instructors, what you hear a lot is, hey, give the ball some space. Give the ball some space. So the guys that are able to attack the ball but still give the ball space, I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but if you've ever done it, it's really an art that unless you've done it, and there's no amount of, I don't care how many live ground balls Ebel hits, it doesn't have the same type of hops. It doesn't. I mean, you're talking about a guy who soft tossed it, not a guy who threw it in 100 miles an hour, right? Yes, it is better than your regular fungo. But until you take game reps and actually read those hops on how to attack the ground ball, but then know when to give it space, that just takes time. So I completely agree with you, Roy, about that. And as far as Mookie Betts needing to, just needs the reps at shortstop just to keep going and keep getting better there. And then Cole says that Walker just needs time to shake off the rust. And Alex says Mookie is more engaged playing infield, more mental than anything. Crazy how well he can play so many positions at a high level. Mookie's that guy, before I send it back to you, Austin, as a teammate, you love to have him, but he also pisses you off because, like, you're the right fielder, right? And then coach says, hey, Mookie, go play right. Then he's better than you at right field. Although you played it there. Then he says, I go play shortstop. Then he's better than the guy who's been playing. It's like he's better than everybody else on his team at whatever position the coach puts him at. And it's like, damn, how does that guy do that, right?
It is an absolutely rare feat what Mookie Betts is continually able to do, continually producing at great levels, continually being able to move all around. He is such a unique player in the game of baseball. Even in the history of the game of baseball, he's been really, really good every single place that he's has. I totally agree. Shortstop work is not the greatest for him right now. Grades out a little bit below average on outs above average and some of the defensive metrics. But with what he's able to produce and with the type of athlete that he is, I think he is such a good positive force for this team. And especially if Gavin Lux is able to step it up, I think you feel pretty comfortable. Gavin Lux has been playing really well defensively at second base. Even Max Muncy, pretty solid at third base, grades out throughout the course of this season. So Mookie Betts still getting a lot of those adjustments with the ground balls. Such a unique athlete that for this Dodgers team that he can play just about anywhere. You can put him behind home plate and I'm pretty sure he'd be fine.
Yeah. Matty Man 5, he always is as straightforward as they get, man. Matty Man 5 is another one of those, just like Roy. Always brings his A game, and he always makes you and I like challenge ourselves to have to think, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and it's like a different perspective that we never thought about before, and it's always so great. Matty Man 5 says, Mookie is great, we all know that, but his playing shortstop has a science project feel to it. Science projects don't usually win World Series, and what he's saying by that is it just doesn't quite look natural to him yet. More like he needs way, way, way more reps. It's like he's just trying to get by and just survive versus being natural at shortstop. And you want your shortstop to be a guy that's playing loose and naturally, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that is going to be a part of the evaluation process for the Dodgers if they believe that Mookie Betts is a World Series winning shortstop, because Mookie Betts is going to be on this team for whatever they do as long as he is healthy. They're going to have to make evaluation if they feel comfortable with him at the shortstop position, if they feel like they are willing if they want to move him to second base to sacrifice the production of Gavin Lux. That would be the move, with Shohei Ohtani plugging up the designated hitter position and playing beyond unbelievable. They're going to have to make an evaluation, and this is something that they're going to be doing over the course of the next month or two before they decide to potentially go out and get a shortstop, which is one of the reasons why it's important just not to push all the trade chips immediately in May. because you don't know what exactly is going to happen or what type of injury could occur or where your areas of needs are. I think the Dodgers are doing the correct things and seeing if Mookie Betts is going to be able to be that shortstop. And then we'll see what happens from there over the course of the next month or two.
That is literally the exact reason why you don't go get Emmanuel Clase right now, because you might need to go get Bo Bichette. I know Johnny's mentioning let's get Bo Bichette. I've actually communicated with D-Mac today of Dodgers Nation, who, by the way, I say it on every one of our show, D-Mac is the best Dodgers content creator out there. He's the most plugged in, combined with a lot. He's not arrogant about it, and he just brings you the news and gets the interviews that Dodgers fans want, and he has access to it, and he has all the right takes. His takes are just so phenomenally they're based on real, and by the way, he's an absolutely huge Dodgers fan too, and he's an absolute diehard. So hey, I say that only to say that, communicated with D-Mac. He actually asked, would you go get Bo Bichette if you're the Dodgers? And my comment was, doesn't matter who you give up. Yeah, absolutely. When you have guys like Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, Bo Bichette, guys like that are that good a type of either talents or players, yeah, you go get them and you figure out how everything fits in after you get him from that aspect. So, yeah, Bo Bichette, I know he's probably at this point a pipe dream, but, that's one of those deals where Dodgers fans can, as you're winning the division by like 11 games, you can sit back and go, yeah. And you have the ability to not be reckless because you're not desperate, because you already have what you need. But if something like that does open up, you go through with it, you give up whoever you have to give up, and you go do it.
Yeah, the Dodgers are going to make the moves that they believe give them and put them in the best possible position to win the World Series. Bo Bichette has been a really good, solid player for the Toronto Blue Jays for the majority of his career. I know to this point of the season, some of the numbers are lacking a little bit, which is something possibly to be concerned about. Could be a little bit of a cheaper to get him as he's entering. I think he, at the trade deadline, will have 1.5 years of club control. Definitely somebody to keep an eye out for, as some of the shortstop options, especially the shortstop options that meet the caliber and cross the bar for the Dodgers, are limited, and especially with the Brewers being a good, solid baseball team this season, knocking out a Willy Adames possibility. Bo Bichette is definitely somebody to keep an eye out for. I'm not buying my Bo Bichette Dodgers jersey quite yet.
No. Yeah.
And especially because, as we've talked about, there could be other areas of need that are more pressing than that. But if you feel comfortable about the pitching, if you feel comfortable about the bullpen, which I think could be a question for the Dodgers, then perhaps you go ahead and go out and get a guy that's going to make things really solid with Bo Bichette, trying to figure out what sort of area. But if he puts you over the top and makes Mookie Betts more comfortable, absolutely you make those types of moves. But not holding out hope quite yet. We'll have to wait and see, and also have to wait and see how Bo Bichette is doing throughout the course of this season, because you want him to be swinging and making really good strides, because right now he's struggling a little bit.
He wouldn't struggle in the Dodger system. I'm just telling you, they would fix him almost immediately. Let's look at what happened to Kike Hernandez. I'm telling you, man, when you get in this Dodgers environment, when you get in this Dodgers culture, like Max Muncy on defense, right? I've never talked to Max Muncy. I'm a big fan of his. I watched him in Stillwater, Oklahoma, hit 17 home runs over a weekend series against OSU. Of course, I'm exaggerating by maybe like a half a home run, right? I think he did hit 16 and a half. I also got to see him have many different at-bats at Bricktown in the Big 12 tournament when the Big 12 tournament was still there. So I knew all about Max Muncy. Then I got to see his entire, I believe it was 2017, I think, whenever he came to the Dodgers. I got to see all of his at-bats in Oklahoma City. I am a gigantic Max Muncy fan. I have never thought he was any good whatsoever at defense. I hope that doesn't sound negative. I hope that doesn't sound like I'm throwing shade. That's just as honest as I can be about it. So I say that only to say, you look around the clubhouse and you go, yeah, man, we got Shohei Ohtani, we got Mookie Betts, we got Freddie Freeman, we just went and got Teoscar Hernandez, we got Tyler Glass now that's throwing at 99 miles an hour, we got Yoshinobu Yamamoto signed for 12 years. I don't want to be that dude at third base that's the one that's sticking out like a sore thumb, right? So if you're Max Muncy, you go, I got to get my defense figured out, man. I got to get my defense on par with what a team that has Shohei Ohtani in the lineup should have, right? So that motivates you as a Max Muncy to make your defense as good as he has become, and kudos to him. So I give that big, long story to say that's what happens to Kike Hernandez when he comes to the Dodgers. That's what happens to Teo Hernandez. That's what would happen to Bo Bichette if he came to the Dodgers. He would walk in that locker room and he'd go, I can't suck here because if I suck here, I'm going to stick out, right? And so at that point, I talked about in the show today, those individual competitions within a big-time team element just make everybody that much better, and it would do it for a guy like Bo Bichette.
Yep, and you can absolutely make that argument, and he has there's a lot of reasons to like Bo Bichette as a baseball player, and I think he certainly would do that, and it's up to the Dodgers if they decide to do that, if they decide to make that bet with Bo Bichette at shortstop. They would make that move, and then you would feel really comfortable about how this Dodgers team is lining up. You would just add more depth to this Dodgers lineup. Things would shake out, and you'd have to figure some things out. But if that's the way that the Dodgers are working, you have to think of those type of names if you're the Dodgers, because you have to go with this team to try to win a World Series. It can't just be we're going to go partially the way in. You got to address your area of needs, but you got to fill it with guys that you think are going to help put you over the top of the World Series. And if you think the best way to fix this Dodgers team to help make it as airtight as possible and to add a player that's just over the top is Bo Bichette, the Dodgers are going to go out and do that. No question about it.
Yeah, and I know Johnny. Hey, Johnny, thank you so much for joining. And Johnny's just always brings his A game, too. I think that extending Teoscar would be a priority. Right now, Teoscar is exactly what you signed up for, right around 250. He's driving in runs. He's a right-handed version of Max Muncy, right? I mean, that's exactly what Teoscar Hernandez is. That plays the outfield instead of third base. So he says, I think extending Teoscar would be a priority. I'll say this. I think Teoscar is going to have a good enough year to where he's gonna get back. He's gonna get back.
Yep.
And I'm not exactly sure it's a bag that the Dodgers are very analytical. I mean, they let go of Tyler Anderson after he pitched. They understand as well as anybody value versus, you say it all the time. This is why you always use statistics like xFIP, xERA, that kind of stuff. The Dodgers are as good as anybody in the league at predicting future success. If you don't believe me, just go look at the veterans that they've released or the prospects that they've traded and see how they did. Almost all of them were either really average or didn't work out because the Dodgers, they know how to really use all of the resources to predict future success. So, hey, I think the Dodgers would look at Teo, they'd go, this is what he's going to give us in the future. This is what he's going to cost. It was worth it last year. We'll see if they think it's worth it whenever that new contract gets proposed, right?
So I think so first off, you got to give props to Teoscar Hernandez, Teo, with what he's been able to do to this point of the season. He's given the Dodgers exactly what they need out of him, been really clutch in a lot of key moments, had the grand slam, is able to hit for a lot of power, can do a lot of different things on the baseball field. It's been an absolutely phenomenal player for the Dodgers and absolutely would be one of the guys that the Dodgers would at least be intrigued and interested in going ahead and re-signing, especially with the uncertainty in the outfield going into next season. With Teoscar Hernandez, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. One, with the Dodgers and with assigning him to some type of extension, my guess is Teoscar Hernandez is going to be looking for some type of length to whatever type of contract that he's going to get. He's in his age 31 season, so you talking about even if they just do a 1-year extension, that'd be age 32 year. However, I don't think Teoscar Hernandez is going to be looking for just a 1-year deal. Again, he's going to be probably looking for multiple years. At this rate, if he keeps producing like this, probably looking for at least a 4+ year extension.
Three. You know why 3?
Why 3?
Because he qualifies for the pension. That's why I thought he was going to want 3 to 4 years when he signed with the Dodgers. He's going to want at least a 3-year contract so he can make it his way to that pension.
Yep, and so that's something to keep in mind if you're the Dodgers, if you're Teoscar Hernandez, because there's going to be some type of length with Teoscar Hernandez that he's going to be looking for. And so if you're comfortable with making that commitment, Teoscar Hernandez, knowing some of the great things that he brings and also some of the flaws, you have to take all of these into account if you're the Dodgers and try to predict if the Teoscar Hernandez age 32 to 34 seasons are going to be the good, productive World Series type of output that you're going to get. Right now, he's going out there and performing well, so I'm not going to say no to that. We'll have to wait to see what the price tag of what Teoscar Hernandez is going to be looking for, and looking specifically for the length. I'm not really as concerned about the money. The Dodgers have a ton of money, but the length commitment that he's going to be looking for could be under question. But especially if you're the Dodgers, if he is, and right now I think he's performing best in the he's the best outfielder that the Dodgers have right now. If there's a lot of uncertainty, perhaps the Dodgers are kind of forced into the corner and they feel comfortable with Teoscar Hernandez, go ahead and re-sign him. So I think that is something that the Dodgers are going to be looking into. I'm not saying they are going to do it because of possible concerns, because of possible worrying about the later years, but he's playing really well right now. So keep an eye out for Teoscar Hernandez in a contract extension.
Roy, I've been reading the chat here, said apparently Roy's been giving the Padres some heck, and good for you, Roy, because I can tell you this, I've been doing nothing but since that Padres series, but deleting Padre people comments, blocking them on social. I mean, they're the most annoying fan, period, in a discussion. I mean, I'm sure there's a million great ones out there, and if you're one of the great Padres fans, I'm not talking about you. But for all the ones that come over and they want to be funny and cute and all that, okay, whatever. But very annoying, I'll say that. So, hey, give them hell, Roy. That's all I got to say about that. So we have a comment that could the Dodgers outfield be made up of their own farm players next year, consisting of Vargas, Outman, and Pages. I will get to the comment before that I believe, as Roy said, that as soon as Hayward comes back, Outman is likely the one to go down. We mentioned this, I believe, a week or two ago in our live show. That's what would be on brand for the Dodgers, but man, it's kind of weird because Chris Taylor's just not playing at all right now, right? And so that right there, that's a little, I mean, you know, they play, I about 2 weeks ago, I said they're playing him there was a couple of questions. Why is he in this lineup? Why is he in that lineup? And it's like, well, because they're wanting to increase the sample size to make this decision. So, hey, it's totally on brand to keep Chris Taylor, to send James Outman down because he has options. And quite frankly, James Outman, you know, he's just struggled offensively. I was really glad to see him get that double last night. So, I mean, there's no way to get around that. So the on-brand move would be to send James Outman down. But I do think it's a little bit suspicious that Chris Taylor hasn't played lately, so that kind of deal. But if you were to ask me what are the odds, I would say it's probably 99-1 that James Outman gets sent down.
Yeah, that would be the most likely outcome, unless James Outman completely catches fire over the course of the next couple of days or whenever Jason Hayward's ready to be healthy. It is curious why Chris Taylor hasn't been on the field at all. I know he's really struggled, and the Dodgers aren't going to cut him unless they are 100% sure that he's not going to be a player.
Is that because of the player they think he is, or is that because of the contract?
That is because of the contract. Yeah. And I think mostly because of the contract, some because of the player that they've seen and because of the person that he's been for the Dodgers. But as was stated earlier in the show, you have to go based off of performance. You have to go on the guys that you think are going to perform for this Dodgers team and going to help elevate them to win the 2024 World Series, not guys that have helped them in the past. So with Chris Taylor, they're going to wait until they know that it's time to pull the plug. It's curious why they haven't playing him a lot recently, which makes you curious if they are ready to go ahead and pull the plug from a Chris Taylor. But right now, I think the most likely bet is for James Outman, especially if he continues to struggle, which we're still huge James Outman fans and know the upside that he has, which is one of the most valuable center fielders in the game of baseball. He's struggling this year, though, and the Dodgers need to have production in their lineup, and they're going to do whatever they can, whatever they think is the best move for them, whether that is keep Chris Taylor around and send James Outman down, or prioritize perhaps thinking that James Outman is only going to get better if he gets major league at bats and deciding to cut ties with Chris Taylor.
That's where I'm at. I'm on the boat where I I can't, I love James Outman. So, I mean, there is bias. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I have bias towards James Outman. I mean, the dude's come on my show like 5 times, right? I mean, he's just an incredible. Whenever I was at Tulsa, he came up and talked to me for like 5 minutes, and it wasn't like, hey, this is James Outman, the Dodgers player, talking to a media guy. It was like, this is just a dude, right? Just standing next to me. And he's just an incredible dude. And when you're in that scenario, it's really hard not to be biased towards these guys because you root for. You see him. I mean, like when you see Gus Varland sitting in the dugout in Double-A Tulsa, and you're going, man, this dude doesn't ever know if he's going to make the major leagues. You got this guy, that guy, this guy in front of you. Then the Dodgers are going to go acquire 3 or 4 free agents, and he's just grinding and working his ass off over a dream that, like, there's certainly no guarantees that'll ever come through. Yeah. You see that, and when you see Gus Varland on a major league mound, it's a celebration, man, because it's like you go back to your memories of seeing him sitting in that Double-A dugout with his headphones in and just grinding away, and this is the reward for it, right? Yeah. So no doubt about it, there's bias for me with James Outman. There's a personal interest for me because I like James Outman as much as I like the baseball player, so I'm going to be very transparent with that. Having said that, I also think that I can put enough of that aside to say he does have the talent to where, I'll say this, I've seen him at the minor league levels. I just don't think AAA at-bats are going to do him any good. If you think James Outman can be a major league player for you in your system, the only way he's going to get through these struggles is hitting off of major league pitchers with major league pressure behind him, with Shohei Ohtani in the lineup and 46,000 people in a Padres series, in a Giants series. It's not going to happen in front of 1,500 people with Oklahoma City playing Sugar Land on a Tuesday. Yeah, he might get more hits. Yeah, mechanically he might. It's not mechanical though, man. It's all just it's the whole process that's getting to him. So I'll say it one more time, and I'm getting long-winded here because we're talking about James Outman, and I really like James Outman, right? So give me a little leeway there. But again, I just don't see any way that for the betterment of now, if you think it's for the betterment of the Dodgers, you have to do it. I'm not saying that, right? If you think this is the best move for the Dodgers, I'm not disagreeing with that. You have to do it. But I will disagree that it's actually the best move for James Outman. Nobody will ever convince me that AAA at-bats is what James Outman himself needs right now versus Major League at-bats. Did I explain that properly?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it is important to know that, well, obviously Casey and I go out and intentionally go to a lot of these minor league games. Him, Tulsa, Oklahoma City being Oklahoma, me, Great Lakes. We get to interact with these guys. We get to see the story. So there is some level of bias for the guys that have come up through the system that we have seen for years, and we know the heart, we know the grind that they have had. The Dodgers need to do what is best for them, both for now, for 2024, and for the future. I think it is apparent that Chris Taylor, as far as his days with the Dodgers, are numbered. How numbered they are, you can have an argument whether you think that he's within when Jason Hayward is going to be back or within the next couple of years until his contract expires. He's getting more towards the tail end of his career. James Outman, at least from his contract perspective and a lot of the value that he provides, there's still a lot of room for growth, a lot of room for length of his career in the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. And so you want to think about multifaceted. One, what is best for the Dodgers now and what is going to be best for the Dodgers to help them win the World Series. That is top priority. That is going to be the decision that 100%. The Dodgers are going to make their decision off of. And that is the decision that we need to respect, and we will respect the Dodgers and their decision for that. They also want to think about, as we have stated, James Outman and his personal career, his development, because you want to, if you're the Dodgers, and it would be best case scenario if James Outman is able to be part of this big league club going forward and be the valuable type of outfielder that he is going to be for this Dodgers. There's only a certain amount of free agents that you can sign to help fill the plugs on this team before you're getting too outrageous, especially with the superstar level of talent that they have. You need some of these guys that are at the baseline type of contracts to help account for the Mookie Betts, to help account for the Freddie Freeman, to help account for perhaps a Teoscar Hernandez extension. And I think James Outman is one of those candidates to where you see him potentially having a role for this Dodgers team in the future. So the question is, what is best for James Outman going forward and what is going to get him to that level to where he's going to be best. If the Dodgers in their evaluation think that it's going to be best for him to spend some time in Oklahoma City, if that's mechanical, otherwise they'll send him to Oklahoma City, and that'd be the easiest move. However, if they don't see any type of role for Chris Taylor, he's just going to sit on the bench, and they only keeping him around because of the contract. Perhaps it's better to get James Outman some at-bats. The only question that I would have with that is how consistent are those at-bats, and is having him sit on the bench for every other game for the Dodgers, however often that they are playing him, going to be best, or is it better to have him play every single day for Oklahoma City? Those are questions for the Dodgers. These are things to keep in mind, and something that as Jason Hayward comes back and will be healthy and will be part of this Dodgers team, and that time is going to rapidly approach, all of these different complications are coming into the Dodgers, and they will evaluate and try to make what is the best decision for the Dodgers now and for the future, thinking about every single one of these aspects.
So, Matty Man 5, here's another one of these awesome questions by Matty Man. Is Outman's needs more important than the Dodgers' needs? Absolutely not. Again, I said it at the end of my last 17-minute long. I probably got everything I was saying there got lost in the length of what I said. So let me be very clear. If you think it's the best interest of the Dodgers to send James Outman down, that's what you do. You always put the club first, period. Now, if you aren't convinced of that and that's not your determining factor, what's actually best for the club, because you go, we're going to win the division by double digits, so we don't necessarily need to be thinking about that. And the decision is what's actually best for James Outman, I would say leave him up. So I think we're going to get a decision on that, and it's an interesting, very interesting situation. And here's the question I would ask you. This is the parameters that I would go by, okay? If I were to ask Austin Brubaker, and this goes back to Roy, no entitlement.
Yes.
No entitlement, okay? None. We're trying to win a World Series, man. No, we're trying to win 3 World Series. So screw the entitlement stuff, right? I want the best players, and Austin, you're great at this too. Not the best players right now. I want the best players that I think will be the best players moving forward in the future as well. So let me ask you this question. Be honest with yourself. 6 months from now, who would you say is more likely to turn it around, James Outman or Chris Taylor?
That's a really good question. That is a really good question. 6 months from now, because the reason why it's such a good question, one, you have the James Outman, who's the younger guy who has, so especially when you talk about the aging curve, you have a lot of belief in him. You also have the past history with a Chris Taylor, which you could say with that, you think that he's going to figure it out yet. With the given runtime that he has had, he has not had a chance to figure it out. I think that is the really important question. That is the question. That is the question for the Dodgers to answer, because they have to make the decision right now about 2024 and win the World Series. Because if they have to completely be sure that Chris Taylor is not going to be part of this club going forward before they pull the plug on him, I don't know if it's going to be a situation where they go ahead and decide, you know what, we'll talk to Chris Taylor, see if he can go down to Oklahoma City and spend some club. Right now, I am under the assumption that if they decide to move on from Chris Taylor, that is it. He's not going to be a Dodger anymore. Things could change, and possibly there's different aspects of that.
He would accept the assignment, 100%. He would, and nobody's going to take on his contract, so he's not going to get traded.
Yeah,
and he's going to have a choice, either to become a free agent or accept the assignment. I think there's a 150% chance he would accept that assignment.
In which case, you could go ahead and try to make that option and decide, you know what, we're going to keep James Outman up, and we're going to go ahead, send Chris Taylor down. That is as far as 6 months from now, who's going to be better? Who has the most recent past of overcoming struggles? I mean, we've seen the ups and downs, and we've seen James Outman be able to figure it out through struggles. And I think there is definitely a higher ceiling with a James Outman. So maybe that's where my bet is.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's tough right now. This is really tough conversations. These are conversations that the Dodgers going into the season did not want to have, because both of these guys, they still think very highly of both of these guys and what they can do and what they have done. But this is part of the state of where the Dodgers have, and this is part of the state when you have a good, successful major league organization. These are the talks and these are the decisions that you have to make. And this is certainly something the Dodgers will mull over and try to make the best possible decision.
Yeah. Albin has 154 average in the last 34 games, says Craig. No doubt he struggled 100% on that, 100%. And I'm going to defend myself a little bit here because I've said many different times I had no feel on the Andy Pages situation. I was completely wrong on the timeline. He was going to come back from the shoulder surgery. Then just kind of to go to show and defend myself as to why all that happened, I don't think the Dodgers in their wildest dreams thought they were ever going to have to decide between James Outman, Jason Hayward, and Chris Taylor, because in their wildest dreams, I don't think they saw Andy Pages, A, being healthy enough to do what he's doing, and then B, going off like he did at the AAA level and forcing his way onto a major league roster. And then once he got there, being so good that sending him back down was an absolute non-starter.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody in the Dodgers organization foresaw that happening. That's kind of a defense as to where I was at on that in the offseason, right?
Yeah, I think this is a pleasant, unexpected surprise. Obviously, the Dodgers knew about the talent of Andy Pages. We've seen this with what he's been able to do at the minor league level throughout his career, but being able to come back this quickly and just running at the start for his major league career to the point where he's not even right now in the conversation about being sent down, which he is an option to send down if the Dodgers want to. I don't think they're going to send him down. And it's great to see Andy Pages go out there performing to the extent that he has to this season, hoping that success is able to continue. You see the swag, you see the ability that he has.
He knows he's good.
Oh, he knows he's good. And we're still yet to see some of the big time moments that he's able to produce like he did at the minor league level, but also that had implications on other members of the team. When you have somebody come up that is good, that forces their way onto the club that the team didn't expect, that's going to impact somebody, especially if all the guys are healthy, which they are very close to being all but healthy. It's going to impact somebody on this club who perhaps going into the season we did not anticipate. So we'll have to wait and see who that is. And hopefully everyone on this Dodgers team can stay healthy and everybody produces, because then you're having great conversations and really tough conversations, but good ones.
Hey, Carlos, the starting pitcher tonight is Elieser Hernandez. We actually covered him on the beginning of our show. If you go back to our show from last Friday, Carlos, go to the Down on the Farm segment. He's the first guy we covered and the AAA Oklahoma City. You'll see it in the description. It actually lists all the guys. I started putting all the guys we're covering in the Down on the Farm. So if you go back to the Friday show, go to the first guy in the AAA Oklahoma City. We cover him for like 2 minutes, and then we also covered him at the beginning of today's show. But a guy, a strike thrower, about 92, 94. You're going to see a 4-seam, a 2-seam, all of that. So the defense, no doubt, for Chris Taylor is that he's had huge at-bats in the past, in the postseason, in the biggest moments. He's come up with huge catches. He has been absolutely clutch. That's the same defense that you make for maybe like a Kike Hernandez, that type of situation. So all of that would say that the Dodgers are, I think it would be totally off-brand if the decision is not Chris Taylor. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to take a trip down on the farm, and we are going to talk about all of the action from last night, and I'm going to open up my Twitter. This is going to be a little bit clunky, but let me get to my Twitter feed so we can start with the Rancho Cucamonga action from last night. And who we're going to start with, I'm going to get him on the board right here. Let me see which one that I need to get. Let me read this right here. Bunt base hit from Kendall George, and away we go. Right there, Kendall George. Let me back that up. Okay, so hang with us because this is going to be a lot of fun. We have Dalton Rushing, Diego Cartaya, Kendall George, all the big names you want to hear about we have on the Down the Farm section. Let's watch this again. There is a bunt to the third base side. Look at that dude run. And if you listen to Mike Linskog, it was funny. His comment on it was, why throw it? You're not getting him out. He's too fast. Don't even throw that ball, right?
Yeah, no, that is absolutely right. You're getting to see a little bit of action from the Dodgers' first-round pick from last year, Kendall George, doing some really good things. We know about the speed. He's going to find ways to get on base and just wreak havoc on the base paths. And we're seeing him have some good success through the part of the season, being part of that Quakes lineup, walking more than he's striking out, walking at an 18, almost 19% of the time, having a 107 WRC+.
Hold on, back up. Watch this. This is a ball to the first baseman that's not booted. Easily safe. My God.
Yeah, that is what speed is able to do, and that is going to hurt a lot of teams, and he's going to provide great, insane talent, a very different type of player for the Dodgers, but one with such a unique skill set that is going to play with him, and he's leaning into a lot of his strengths. He's not going to be a big time power hitter. You love to see him hit for a couple more doubles or triples. What he's able to do, though, is able to get on base and be able to, once he gets on base, steal some bases, provide havoc, or go first to third with ease on the base paths because of the speed that he's able to provide. You're seeing some bunt base hits, some singles, even if play like this. Third baseman's got to rush it, which causes him to misplay that. Even if he played that correctly, he wouldn't have got Kendall George.
No doubt about that. And there's another bunt attempt. And, man, you know, it's called putting pressure on the defense, man. Even at the professional level, when you put pressure on a defense, they make mistakes. I mean, you force them into mistakes. So, hey, the next guy that we're going to talk about is Gerald Perez. If I can get to his file here, right here, Gerald Perez. Gerald Perez, man, this is a dude that, look at that short, compact swing, but it packs a big punch. So it's really direct to the ball. There's not a whole lot that can go wrong with it, but yet he can hit the ball hard, and he is a gap-to-gap guy. This is a guy that is in Bruce Kuntz's Dodgers top 30 prospects list. And like I said all the time, if you're going to follow a top 30 prospects list, follow Bruce's, because he is so connected with the organization, especially with the lower levels. And he also sees the daily grind. So not only in Bruce's evaluation is it the overall talent that goes into it, Bruce is also going to know the personality types, the work ethic, the type of grind these guys have. And so his is going to be the absolute most accurate. So this is Gerald Perez, a guy that's having a good year.
Oh, you're talking about a good year. I would say to this point of the season, it has been a great season for Gerald Perez. 19 years old right now, 138 plate appearances. One of the most productive hitters for the Dodgers in their minor league system to this point of the season. A 169 WRC plus with this level, this amount of plate appearances. He's just going out there and getting hits all of the time. He is walking at an 18% clip, striking out 22.5%. He's doing a lot of great things, continually being productive with the bat, playing some of the middle infield, doing all sorts of things really well. I'm really excited about Gerald Perez with his ability. Could be one of those guys. He's young, but if he continues to have this level of production, you could see him in Great Lakes pretty soon.
100% you could. Hey, a guy that I am super excited about that the Dodgers picked up last year in the draft out of Marshall University, and that is Patrick Copen. This guy, you know, it's always been about, of course, we saw him in the spring breakout game, and it was like, who's that? Because, you know, last time I saw him, he had the long hair, and he was like this big old tall drink of water that was really skinny. And I watched the spring breakout game, and literally, I've interviewed the guy, right? I mean, I talked to him for like 25 minutes, and I was like, who's this dude? And they said, Patrick Copen to the mound. I'm like, huh? And then he comes out just throwing bullets, and I'm like, oh, dang. And you see the tree trunks. As a matter of fact, I've actually messaged him. He put on 15 pounds of weight in the offseason. So the question was, hey, can you put on good muscle weight? And then can you, first of all, get good enough control to be a professional pitcher? Then once you control it, meaning get the ball in the zone, what's the command going to look like? Well, Patrick Copen, I'll tell you what, man, this dude is turning a corner very fast. Last outing, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no runs, 4 strikeouts, Austin, but only 1 walk. ERA 2.93 on the year. He has 31 strikeouts to 13 walks, so almost a 2.5 to 1 strikeout to walk ratio. That will continue to separate as he continues to go on. and second start in a row for Copen that he has not allowed a run, and he's a starter. So this is 2 starts in a row, no runs.
Can you repeat again how long he went during his most recent outing?
He went, I believe, 5 innings.
Was it 5 innings or
7 innings? Excuse me, no, 7 innings. 7 innings.
That's what I thought you said, and that is I can't tell you enough how rare that is in this organization for
it's
them.
It's like the Dodgers are doing that more now, aren't they?
Yeah, it seems to be happening a little bit. I remember, I think a stat that we had given out about Landon Atkins. I think he's the only one at Oklahoma City last season, or at Tulsa or whatever.
Oklahoma City.
Oh, yeah, who went 7 innings last year. And to see somebody at Rancho Cucamonga, Patrick Copen, getting that length just shows you the level of trust that they have in this guy. This is something that rarely does happen, but they're doing it with a guy that is going out there performing, having a ton of success, striking out a lot of guys, as you can see with the swing and miss stuff that he has right there. There's a lot of reason to be excited about Patrick Copen. Perhaps him getting a lot more, as you stated or saw in this most recent outing, a lot more length than what the Dodgers are normally comfortable with. They're pushing him, and he's going out there and performing.
I sent you a message, by the way, if you want to check that out just for a second. Hey, let's get to one of our favorites who I know you got to see him at Great Lakes in 2021, Austin, and he was really good during that time. Has spent the last 2 years and has not pitched at all. And so now he's back down with Rancho Cucamonga, and he is doing very well, and that would be Robinson Ortiz. He's definitely made a splash in his re-entry. He hasn't allowed a run in his last 3 outings. That spans those 3 outings, 5 innings pitched. And believe it or not, as good as his stuff is, this is what I like. He hasn't struck anybody out yet, which means that he's trusting his stuff in the zone to get away from hard contact and to induce weak contact because his ball moves so much. And again, big prospect back in 21, just now getting healthy again.
It's great to see Robinson Ortiz back and healthy and pitching a lot for the Quakes. That is great to see, and you're going to see him get a lot of swing and miss as he goes forward. Right now, trusting a lot of his stuff in the zone, hasn't given up a run, having a lot of success so far. I think that success is going to continue because of the talent that Robinson Ortiz has. Big left-hander, has thrown for some heat. Now he's back healthy. He's going to have a lot of success going forward.
Would totally agree. The next guy we're going to go to, I think you know who we're going to talk about, Peter Hubeck. Last night, this is why results are tricky in the minor leagues. I mean, he had a bloop hit. I mean, that was hit like 23 miles an hour, just find the right spot. It was a hit just about similar to that was a little bit lower. That actually scored 2 runs, and I believe it was the 5th inning. But he was just a bloop hit away from going scoreless last night. 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. ERA for Peter Hubeck is 3.27, 34 strikeouts in 22 innings. So 34 strikeouts in 22 innings. That's a lot of swing and miss, Austin.
He's getting a lot of swing and miss. He's striking out nearly 35% of the hitters that he is facing. He's going out there and continually providing really good, solid innings. I've been to probably 4 of Peter Hubeck starts in person this season, obviously seeing all of the other outings that he has had. And he just goes out there and gives you 4 or 5 innings. There will be a couple of unlucky hits. I know yesterday there's a couple of bloops that were unlucky, some of that batted ball luck that he did give up. But when he is not giving that up, he's striking guys out. He's becoming and growing into a really good pitcher for this team. You talk about a lot of his numbers, a 2.85 FIP and a 3.71 expected FIP. Those are good, really solid. He's growing as a pitcher, and he's getting really comfortable at the high A level. You're seeing Peter Hubeck go out there and pitch incredibly well.
Another guy that I know that you're really, really, really high on, Kelvin Bautista. He's pitched really well for Great Lakes.
Yeah, he's pitched really well. He's a left-hander, comes out of the bullpen, been one of those guys who's pitched in some big moments out of the bullpen, gone multiple innings, also been one of those guys usually who comes in and if they need to fill in a couple of innings, fill in a third or 2/3 of an innings, you always see Kelvin Bautista warming up out of the left side of the bullpen. He can go out there and provide some length. Really solid lefty, has pitched really well, 2.81 ERA to this point of the season. He's able to get some swing and miss with what he's able to do. really solid, really consistent with Kelvin Bautista to this point of the season.
I always want to call him Kelvin for some reason. That just is always in my mind. I have to fight myself not to do that. You know, you have so many people and so many different teams. It's sometimes you make a mistake pronouncing the name, right? So it's like, if I do that, which I'm going to do many different times, shoot me a message. I know Jay shoots me a message quite a bit. Hey, that's not how you pronounce this or that. Shoot me a message. Trust me, we're not we want to get things right. We just, there's so many to do. Sometimes you don't. So definitely, if you hear us pronounce something wrong that you know we're wrong on, it's probably just we know how to pronounce it, just making a mistake at the time. Maybe we don't. So definitely leave us a message there as far as how that goes. Hey, this is a guy that nobody, when he comes in, you know, I promise you, when you're in the other team's dugout, nobody's fighting the bat rack to try to go hit against this dude, right? Because Edgardo Enriquez would strike out his mother if she was up there hitting against him. Enriquez is second in the Cal League, of course. Right here, he just got brought back. He's been up and down between Rancho and Great Lakes. He's back up with Great Lakes right now. But as you mentioned the other day, second in the Cal League in swinging strike percentage, which is how many of the pitches that you throw to home plate total end up in swings and misses. Only second to his teammate at Rancho, Jose Rodriguez. He has an 18.29 strikeout per 9. Let me say it again. He averages striking out 18.29 hitters per 9 innings. That's a 50% strikeout rate and an average against of just 125. This dude, Edgardo Enriquez, is the definition of explosive.
Yes, as you mentioned right there, explosive is the way to describe Edgardo Enriquez. This is back-to-back for Great Lakes, 2-inning performances that he's come late in the game out of the bullpen and just going out there and just absolutely shove. Both appearances ended with 4 strikeouts at the high A level. That is first appearance at the high A level. He has explosive fastball, and he's able to pair that off with breaking balls, able to keep hitters off balance, and hitters are trying to guess and swing in at that fastball, trying to catch it, and they're just having a whole lot of issues swinging and making contact. And as you mentioned, second in swinging strike percentage in the California League, where he was at. He's able to generate a ton of swing and miss. His strikeout numbers are right towards the top. His ERA, his expected numbers are all right there towards the top. This is a big-time arm for the Dodgers. The guy who is coming back now is finally healthy, and now the Dodgers are reaping the rewards for a guy that has an insane amount of talent. He's putting a lot of those pieces together, and he's somebody to be so incredibly excited about if you're a Dodgers fan, whether that's be coming out of the starting position role or starter as he was in Rancho, or now as he's in Great Lakes coming out of the bullpen. This could be a big-time electric arm for the Dodgers.
100% it could, no doubt about that. Hey, another guy was a move up to the Double-A level. How about that? Dalton Rushing from the knees, baby. That was sweet right there, wasn't it? Dalton Rushing is absolutely awesome. We're going to cover him on today's show. But this is another Landon Knack type guy, you know, like Elieser Hernandez, Eduardo Salazar, Elieser Hernandez starting tonight for the Dodgers. Pitchability. This is a guy, Orlando Ortiz Mayer, a guy that almost always goes 6 innings. He gives your team length. Every time he goes out, he's going to throw that changeup, slider, fastball, all of that, and he's going to get a lot of weak contact, and before you know it, it's going to be the 5th inning. So Orlando Ortiz Mayer. By the way, yesterday, 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. Great pitchability.
Yeah, great pitchability, always able to provide some type of length, whether that be from the starter or if that's coming out of the bullpen. I know he pitched a lot of piggyback type innings, now getting a lot of opportunities to provide innings from as a starter. Orlando Ortiz Mayer, pitchability, as you had mentioned, is not going to blow everybody away with this strikeouts, although he does generate some strikeouts. He's able to be consistent, rock solid, and be able to provide innings. And I think you need a lot of these guys on your team, and Orlando Ortiz Mayer is a very good pitcher with a ton of pitchability.
100%. Hey, another guy that I know is deep in Dodgers minds. He was the number 1 prospect for the Dodgers last year, and for very good reason, because he is an extremely talented young man, and that would be Diego Cartaya. This is a 106-mile-an-hour home run right there for Diego last night, and whenever things go right, we know that he can do that right there. But then again, he can do this right there. He did that last night. He had a home run over the left field wall. That was a bomb last night. And then his very next at bat, he stayed inside of a ball and shot a ball on the outer half to right field. So, yes, it was a struggle last year offensively. I'm not trying to blow smoke right here. It's been a struggle for Diego Cartaya offensively this year. But when you see him hit a home run to left field, then that one right there, then you see him shoot one into right field, that kind of makes you think, well, maybe he's figuring things out, right?
Perhaps it's not time to give up on Diego Cartaya quite yet. Obviously, the past couple of games, he's had some good performances, the home run, the hit to the opposite field. And there was a significant portion of the season where he was struggling, and a lot of the numbers reflected that. Just looking at a little bit of an evaluation of where the numbers stand today, and I don't think this includes the game that happened earlier today, so I don't know how these numbers will be impacted. Diego Cartaya's WRC plus, even at 100. League average type of player, which with what he's able to do with some of the home runs, you start to realize, maybe he's not as struggling as much as I had anticipated. Perhaps there could be a little bit more consistency, as we've seen with him hitting a home run. That's going to certainly help his WRC plus. But with Diego Cartaya walking almost 16.5% of the time, striking out at about 27%, that's a little bit high. There have been some inconsistencies so far, but as we've seen in his most recent performance, which was the game yesterday, perhaps he's starting to put a lot of these tools together, and especially with the catching position being one of the weaker offensive positions, meaning catchers typically have around a 90 WRC plus. Perhaps some of these tools are going to get a little bit better, and perhaps Diego Cartaya is hitting a little bit better and going under the radar from what we had anticipated. So don't give up on Diego Cartaya quite yet, because he's giving us perhaps some reason to still believe in the talent that he has, which we know about the talent. You see the flashes, you see the power, you see the opposite field base hit, you see the work that he's able to do behind the plate, which I know you talk about quite a bit, and it very well is worth repeating. He puts a ton of work into that. Perhaps it's not time to give up on Diego Cartaya, because right now he's a league average Texas League hitter, which is a lot better than what he was and with a lot of the struggles last season. So this is definitely a step in the right direction for Diego Cartaya as he continues to work on making that climb in the system.
Yeah, and it makes me think whenever he actually does start hitting this potential, his WRC plus is going to absolutely go through the roof. Hey, this is Michael Hobbs. Yesterday he went 2 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 2 strikeouts, no walks. What I want you to watch is this gigantic breaking ball for what they call, who they call Hobbsy. Michael Hobbs is what they call him here. Austin, take it away.
Yeah, Hobbsy, I'm super excited about Hobbsy. You can see the breaking ball. I got to see that from on the side, from behind home plate a whole lot. It is dynamic. It is electric. He's a very good relief pitcher for this Tulsa Drillers club. You could see the pitchability that he has, still getting settled into the AA level. And it's great to see Hobbsy go out against this Wichita team. I know there's a lot of players on this Wichita team. Just thinking back to the 2023 season, this is the former Cedar Rapids Colonels, which happened in the postseason. And I know with Hobbsy going into the 2023 season didn't end exactly how he was hoping for. But to see him go out there and get 2 scoreless innings, get a couple of strikeouts against a lot of players that are really good. You're talking about Emmanuel Rodriguez, one of the best prospects in the game of baseball, Kalai Rosario, Carson McCusker, a lot of good, talented players. Michael Hobbsy went out there and performed really well. That is something, just knowing a little bit of the past history, that is encouraging, but also knowing the pitchability and the great success that Hobbsy can pitch with. Keep an eye out on Michael Hobbs.
Don't forget, he was the all-time saves leader at St. Mary's, so you know he loves the big pressure too. So, hey, another guy that is one of our favorites that had a good game again, has been playing really well lately. T.Y., the all-time hits leader in Louisiana Tech history. Hey, he's safe, by the way. He let everybody there know that he was safe. Then watch this sweet play that he makes right here. Whoop, right there. T.Y. touch the bag, go to first base. Now watch as he comes back in the dugout. Watch how much everybody loves Taylor Young and the energy and just the positive, infectious awesomeness that Taylor Young brings to the dugout as this clip rolls on.
Yeah, no, Ty is such a fun player, and you can see just the character, you can see the personality that he brings. And he backs that up with the level of play that he has. He backs that up with his consistent desire to win. That was something that was so incredibly evident, as you can see on the field, as you can see with him doing everything that he can to help his teammates that are on deck as he's up to the plate. He can play in the middle defensively. He can play some third base as well when needed. Ty is going to go out there and perform. And he also goes out there and produces offensively, 127 WRC plus, well above league average. Don't underestimate this guy. He is a good personality. He is a great baseball player, and he's going to do every single thing he possibly can to win a game. And you want Ty Taylor Young on your baseball team.
Kind of like Mookie. He likes to lead games off with home runs a lot. He did that a lot last year. I think he did it 2 or 3 times last year.
Yeah.
Has already done it once this year. So, hey, this is Dalton Rushing, and this is a guy we just saw him throw from his knees, the Dodgers' #1 prospect. Here's another shot of him throwing out a runner right there. We saw him from his knees. There's him standing up. But Dalton Rushing is just, man, when he hits it, the ball simply stays hit, right? I mean, he hits the ball as hard or harder than anybody in baseball.
Yeah, he hits the ball incredibly hard. There's a lot of moments where he was almost destroying the scoreboard out in right field in Great Lakes last season. He's going out there and continuing to be productive. That jump from high A to double A, one of the hardest jumps in baseball, he's going out there and he's adapting to it with exactly the type of numbers that he had at Great Lakes last season, going out there, 141 WRC plus, walking a lot, not striking out a ton for the type of hitter, the type of power that he presents. He's going out there being consistent, playing solid at catcher, can throw some runners out. Dalton Rushing is very, very talented and very worthy for a lot of publications to be named the Dodgers' top prospect because he is that type of good and he can drive the baseball. There are so many tools that Dalton Rushing brings, the intangibles and the thought process with the game. He also has that competitive fire similar to what Ty has. He's going to go out there and give it every single thing that he's got. And when he's on his A game, when he is healthy, boy, is Dalton Rushing good.
Yep, and as we move to the AAA level, this is Miguel Vargas you're seeing here. We talked about him on our last show, but Drew Avens, wanted to mention your Dodgers daily reminder that Drew Avens is one hell of a baseball player, and he's having a great year again. But as we move on, we're going to move up to Miguel Vargas, had an RBI double. This is yesterday's game, had a 104.3 mile-an-hour ground out, a line out at 97.1, and a fly out at 95.7. So we all know the average always looks good at the AAA level for Miguel Vargas, so I like to include the exit velos just to show Dodgers fans that he is hitting the ball hard.
Yeah, that's another good indication, as well as those league-adjusted statistics, looking at things like exit velos, looking for those underlying metrics that help explain why certain players have success. And you can see with Miguel Vargas, I don't think it is entirely to do with the Pacific Coast League because the adjusted statistics are there, because the exit velos are there. And right now, Miguel Vargas is going out there and reminding people just how good he is. The numbers are absolutely there. Walking more than he's striking out. He's 45% better than the league average Pacific Coast League hitter. His OPS, just for context, is over 1.000. That is phenomenal work, and he's putting a lot of work into the outfield. When you talk about the conversation of Teoscar Hernandez next season, as was mentioned in the show earlier, perhaps the Dodgers look back at Miguel Vargas and try to figure out ways to perhaps give him an opportunity to see if he is part of the future for the Dodgers. Otherwise, having him perform at this level, great for the Dodgers if they decide to move on from Miguel Vargas, because his value just continues to rise with each amount of success that he has at AAA.
I know how much, for a fact, the people inside the program love Miguel Vargas. They think he's a hitting machine.
Yes.
Boy, moving on from him would be tough for a lot of people. I'll say that. Hey, this is a guy, Dinelson Lamet. I think he is kind of like the pitcher we're seeing tonight, Elieser Hernandez. I think when they were deciding who to bring up and who to pitch, I think he was 1A. I think those were the two guys that they were discussing, which one we want to bring up, Dinelson Lamet or Elieser Hernandez. They went with Hernandez, I think, because of the pitchability. Dinelson Lamet has a little bit more explosive stuff, although the last outing he only had one walk, but the ones before that, he wasn't in the zone quite as much, so I think they decided to go with the pitchability again. There is no inside knowledge of that whatsoever. But Dinelson Lamet was very impressive yesterday. 5 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 3 strikeouts, and a walk, 93-95 on the four-seam. Landed his four-seam 66%. Threw the slider the most, 40 inches of vertical break, and he landed that slider almost half the time, and it had a 55% whiff rate. ERA down to 3.33 for Dinelson Lamet. So if they go the DFA route with Elieser Hernandez, and then they go and they get in a situation again where they need to bring a guy up for a bullpen game, I think Dinelson Lamet is that quad A guy that they would definitely consider.
Yeah, he's going to be a guy that they absolutely consider going forward, especially if he continues to have this success. It's very impressive what he's been able to do. Oklahoma City, equally as impressive as your ability to, as the Dodgers dogs are going crazy as they're excited for Dinelson Lamet, be able to go through that. Got to give you props for that.
Yeah, it's time for our walk, and that's good because this is the last guy we're going to cover tonight. This is Nick Ramirez, a lefty. Him and Matt Gage. I think Nick Ramirez is imminent to come up to the Dodgers at some point. He is a left-hander that is on the Dodgers' radar, and so I think this is a guy again, one of those quad A guys that I think is a guy the Dodgers are heavily considering from day to day.
Yeah, especially if he keeps doing what he's doing at Oklahoma City. Only 6 2/3 innings so far, but striking out 41% of the hitters that he's facing. Only has given up maybe one walk, 3.7% on his walk percentage. He's not giving up a lot of earned runs. He's having a lot of success. If those dynamics continue, he's going to get a look for the Dodgers.
Okay, Austin, as we bring this back, it is 8:30. We've been on for exactly an hour and a half. We got all that in. Very happy about that. My dogs are ready to go on a walk, so final thoughts.
Yeah, no, it's a fun show. It's exciting to be able to do this here live with all of you guys, being able to see a lot of these prospects, being able to talk about some important conversations with Dodgers baseball.
Yeah.
There's no more fun thing to do it here at Dodgers Dogs. Super excited, super happy, and grateful for you guys and grateful for this community that we've been able to grow. Been kind of doing couple of things at once, obviously looking up different stats as we've been being here at Dodgers Dogs. Also watching the Loons game. I have it on my screen. So if you see me kind of looking this way, it's been because I'm watching the high A Great Lakes Loons in their game. They're up 5-1 right now. This is a big game for them to kind of get back on track after the past couple of games. So been kind of watching that, but being here with this community has been so incredibly fun. So grateful for you guys.
Austin, we are so lucky to have you. You absolutely rock it. I thank you so much for joining. And so for everybody else that tuned in tonight and for everybody that's helped continue to grow this Dodgers Daily community, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for watching these videos every day, leaving your wonderful comments, and just being a wonderful part of this community. So thank you so much for that. And again,